Hello and welcome to the Rogers Brief. I'm Adam Rogers. Thank you for watching and thank you for listening. Today is June 12th, Sunday, June 12th, and so I want to talk about two things with you. One is an application in the Mass Casualty Commission proceedings, which was supposed to take place tomorrow morning, and which has now been resolved and is not going to take place, dealing with the videos from the Irving Big Stop in Enfield. And the second thing I want to do is just a little preview of the week ahead. Now, the week ahead was supposed to have 3 days of proceedings, but now is only going to have 2 because of, I believe, the resolution of this matter of the videos. There was an application scheduled to be heard tomorrow morning by the commissioners where Coldfoot's Publishing, representing who owns Frank Magazine, represented by lawyer David Hutt out of Burchells in Halifax, media lawyer, very well respected, was going to be presenting on behalf of Frank Magazine an application to have the videos from the Big Stop be permitted to be played, be published, and to be posted as exhibits by the Mass Casualty Commission. Up until just a few days ago, the Commission had refused to do so, and there were some real questions about why, because, the Commission has presented, and the RCMP have presented, a certain narrative of how these two officers just happened to be ready to fill up their tank with gas, came upon the killer, and shot him in a sudden development in the case and quick thinking on their parts, all those things. The videos that were leaked about a year ago to Frank Magazine and published then, some of them were published, showed a little bit of a different story. Seemed like it was a little too quick and countered some of the other narrative too, where the officers said, well, they were just driving along and went to the first pump that was available. Well, the evidence in the video show that there were at least 2 others that they drove past that didn't have the orange bags or could have been used as well. So it seems that is not quite as it's being presented to us, and that these videos might expose that a little bit. Lots of questions on that. Particularly, the main question is why would anybody lie about something that the truth seems when the truth seems like such a reasonable explanation? Anyway, and nobody, I don't think, would be upset if it turned out that the officers knew he was there, went to make a move on him, saw him pull a gun, and then shot him. But that's not what they've said. So we'll get these videos. So the application was made by Coldfoot's Publishing to have this hearing, and it was opposed initially by the federal government, which, no surprise, representing the RCMP, because of course they have their officers' narratives in mind, I guess. And the other thing is, it seemed like it was initially opposed as well by the Mass Casualty Commission Council. But that has changed this week. And if you read the article in Frank Magazine, which is not behind a paywall, anybody can read it, there's a real interesting sort of turn of events where the Mass Casualty Commission lawyers are now saying, well, this was a big misunderstanding. This was always meant to be published as an exhibit, but, it just wasn't. So that doesn't really hold water. Anybody who's been following that element of the story. But anyway, they seem that they've, you give them credit for coming around to the right decision eventually. Frank Magazine had done some really good work, or David Hutt had, on their behalf, of getting other media organizations on board, getting letters of support from them, and also to have the other participants line up in support as well. The issue seemed fairly clear anyway. I mean, this is the best possible evidence of a key moment. I've talked about this before, so it made perfect sense for the videos to be played. Any adult is going to be able to watch this. It's not an up-close, it's not going to be gruesome or anything too difficult for people to watch. But they were opposed to having it played at first, but now they've changed. So here's the really significant part of this. I think it really shows some daylight between the commission lawyers, the lawyers for the Mass Casualty Commission, and the 3 commissioners themselves. And I'll just back up a moment. Remember after the interim report came out, there was a passage I noticed in there where the commissioners wrote that commission counsel are there to provide the best possible evidence to us and to be, rigorous in doing so, to show tenacity in doing so, and to present all of the evidence for the commissioners to decide, and, to make their determinations and their best possible recommendations. Okay, so part of that to me seemed to be the commissioners reacting to criticism from the public and saying, hey, it's not us, it's the commission lawyers that are presenting this stuff to us. If you have a problem, go talk to them. Well, here we have the exact opposite of that, the flip side, which is the commission lawyers in their, back and forth communication with Mr. Hutt, as published in the article, are saying, well, this was always meant to be posted as an exhibit. We just didn't want it broadcast during the hearings because they didn't say why. But they said it was the direction of the commissioners not to post the video. And further, and just as importantly, perhaps more so importantly, they had to presume why they didn't want the videos published. The commissioners, there was no the commissioners said not to publish it because of this, a trauma-informed mandate, the fact that somebody was killed in it. They presumed that that was the reason, the commission lawyers, but said that the commissioners themselves didn't say so. So this is now the commission lawyers turning around and saying, hey, don't blame us, it was the commissioners. So it really seems to show some maybe tension in the background. The commission, things aren't going well and people are looking around at who's to blame and nobody's pointing the finger at themselves. So anyway, that's really interesting. Now, the federal government, the Department of Justice, was opposed to the videos being displayed as well. But they've abandoned that position now that it was just them. When it was them plus the Mass Casualty Commission lawyers, then they were prepared, I think, to proceed and make their arguments. But after it became obvious that their efforts would be futile, they've also abandoned their position and are not going to oppose the videos being published. I think, now, while they had commission support, they still would have had to weigh three things, I think. One would be the low chances of success. I mean, any neutral arbitrator thinking about this question was going to say, yes, publish the videos. Although now that we hear that the commissioners themselves are the ones behind not publishing it, maybe not. But it seemed to me a very clear question. A low probability of the RCMP being able to successfully keep these videos from being published. So that's one thing. The second thing is the probability or the possibility that their opposition to having it published would just foster and confirm to the public that the RCMP feels that there's something to hide. Well, why don't you want the videos to be published if you think it supports your members' narrative and the evidence that they've already provided? If you want it to be hidden, well, what's going on? So they were certainly, I'm sure, weighing that possibility too. And then the third part of that is the possibility that if you just let it be published and let people, see it, well, maybe the public would still be inclined to accept the sort of heroic, quick-thinking narrative that's been presented. So all of those things were certainly weighing on their mind, but with the Mass Casualty Commission lawyers also opposed to the application to publish the videos, it was so much easier for the federal government to say, hey, us too. But now that they're standing alone, and it seems like it's a futile effort, I think that's why they've abandoned that position. So, really interesting things going on in the background there. Lots of discussions. Clearly from the article, there were letters going back and forth about, why the video should be published and trying, the Mass Casualty Commission lawyers seemingly trying to come up with a middle ground solution. And so tomorrow, we're going to hear from Chief Commissioner McDonald to say, yes, the videos will be at least put up on the website as exhibits, available for anybody to witness and to watch. It'll be interesting to see, and I'll be watching closely to see whether he says anything about the application itself, any of this back and forth that I'm talking about now. I kind of doubt that he will, because here's what I think is going on. I think that what the Mass Casualty Commission is determined to do is to keep any of this controversy, whether it's about this video or just anything, from getting airtime during the live stream. I think if their mindset is, if it's in print, if it's in the Chronicle Herald, if it's on somebody's website or somebody's blog, well, big deal. But no controversy, or as little as possible, is going to make it into the actual live stream. Because we would have had, 3 hours of arguments about these videos tomorrow morning. People would have been watching. Not sure exactly what the numbers are viewership-wise, but I understand it's quite high, in the hundreds of thousands of people that are watching, or have watched at least. So maybe that's the issue, of course. And then if it's on the live stream, then it gets amplified all that much more by TV news networks and such. So they don't want video of it. Print is okay, but not television. It's the same kind of mindset, I think, that gets us to hear, presentations from Mass Casualty Commission lawyers rather than first-hand evidence from the officers. In some of these cases, they'll go through the foundational documents so that they have this boring kind of presentation from a lawyer, and nobody wants to show a clip of that on the news. But if it had been, Constable Basselt or Corporal Mills talking about, going in there at first and what they're doing, well, that would have made a good TV clip. And I think the Mass Casualty Commission is determined to avoid good TV clips. Good from the news viewing public's perspective. All right, so that's something to watch. We'll see tomorrow morning. And then, of course, once the videos themselves are released, then everybody will have a chance to form their own opinion on it. Otherwise, it's going to be a fairly quiet week. There's 2 days scheduled, Monday and Tuesday. There'll be proceedings. And what the website says is there'll be small group sessions. It remains to be seen how small group sessions differ from roundtables or panels. I suspect they'll be nearly identical in their actual form. So Monday we have Jeff O'Coin, an advanced care paramedic. We have Jesse Brine, a primary care paramedic. R. Bruce Cox, always a little wary of people that use the first initial, but anyway, an advanced emergency medical dispatcher and intermediate care paramedic. Primary, advanced, intermediate. And then Melanie Lowe, who is also a primary care paramedic. So we'll see whether those, what they have to say about their experiences perhaps, or just, we don't know if they're going to talk about their actual experiences or if they're just going to talk about the system of ambulance and paramedic care in Nova Scotia, and if there's any meaningful distinction between advanced, primary, and intermediate care paramedics. All right. Second small group session in the afternoon, presumably, is going to be dealing with the Operational Communications Center, first responders experiences. Brian Green, who's an RCMP dispatcher and acting OCC commander, Operational Communications Center commander, as needed, the title says. And then Kirsten Bagley, OCC shift supervisor and acting OCC commander. Again, it says as needed. Now, when I read these things, it says as needed. I don't think, when I first read that, I was like, what do you mean? They'll be as needed if we want to hear from them as witnesses? No, I think what it means is as needed if there needs to be an acting OCC commander, they're one of them, as needed. Tuesday, there'll be further service providers. There'll be Dana Bowden, who's with the Department of Justice Victim Services, the director of the Victim Services Program for the Nova Scotia DOJ. Kim Burton, who's also with Victim Services. Lindsay Dennis with the Nova Scotia Medical Examiner's Office, who's a forensic nurse. Evelyn Gallant, who's also with the Medical Examiner's Office as a forensic nurse. And Bruce Varner, funeral home director. In the afternoon, there'll be two elected officials talking as part of a small group session. Tom Taggart, former municipal councillor, who's now the MLA for Colchester North, who I know has been he's been keeping up to date quite closely with all of these proceedings. And then Christine Blair, who is the mayor of the municipality of Colchester, will speak. So we'll see. There's lots of people involved. It's like watching movie credits in some ways. You're like, how can so many people be involved in something like this? But it's, there's lots of different facets to all of this stuff. Victim services being very important, of course. All of it being very important. So we'll be watching for those over the next couple of days, bring you anything that's interesting. And of course, we'll be following the release of the video tomorrow. Presumably it'll be released tomorrow morning, or maybe they'll just tell us tomorrow morning when it's going to be released. So we'll see about all that, and we'll be reporting back afterwards. So anyway, just setting up the week and talking about that application today on Sunday. I'll be joining you again tomorrow evening with my report from the day. So again, thank you for watching, thank you for listening, and we'll see you next time.